Hi, Glaucolongi here, and today we're going to discuss how you develop speed when doing art. Working faster usually means working more accurate and not necessarily moving faster. In fact, one of the exercises that I've been doing personally is just making myself work slower, letting my eyes process what I see, making conscious choices and deliberate choices. Exercises like speed sculpt, quick sketch are fantastic, and I do those all the time. It's also a great way to generate ideas, focus on very small topics, keeps your brain going. The problem with these very fast efforts is that they are usually very loose, but also they tend to not be very accurate if you don't really pay attention to that. And it's very hard to develop all of the skills at once. Precision will come from a different type of exercise. You gotta be much more thoughtful on your choices and your decisions. Breathe in, breathe out, pay attention on what you're doing. Why am I doing this brush stroke here? Why do I feel like I need to move this thing here? And so on and so forth. So let's just jump into ZBrush and look at some quick tips on how you can actually do this. All right, so here I am in ZBrush. We're gonna look into something very, very simple. So a lot of people, the way they would do this, and I'm gonna exaggerate here just to make my point. So they would do something like a line here. Oh, and then they would get this move brush and they will keep moving things until, it kind of resembles what they're doing. And then eventually you land, after moving a million times, you land on something very close to your reference, right? And that's great. Mission accomplished, right? Like the goal was to do this. If you are trying to build accuracy and speed, there are many better ways of doing that. So let's just do this a little bit more thoughtful and more precise in a way that allow us to think about what we need to do in order to achieve our results. So you can see that this line here, somewhere around here in the middle, and the beginning of this line here starts around here, maybe like a fourth. There is a little bit of a space here. We could be measuring that, but in this case, I'm just gonna eyeball. So I know that this is gonna start here. We're gonna go all the way around here. I'm just eyeballing at this moment. And this line here kind of finishes roughly in the middle and like 1/3 here. And also maybe half here too. So it's gonna finish right around here. All right, so let's just connect the dots now. That's great. So for the sake of the exercise, this is pretty similar result-wise, from this guy here. Obviously, they have different textures and different feels to them, but the amount of strokes that it took me to build this one, it's, I don't know, many strokes, many movements of the brush, of the mouse. I was moving very fast and not very deliberate. And then here, I was actually thinking about what I needed to do, and then I built some sort of a plan. So I know this is gonna be here, this is gonna be here. And you can see this is a much more relaxed sort of version of this exercise, right? Hopefully this makes sense, but let's just move on to a different exercise. All right, so let's say I wanna build a skull, I have a sphere. We know that we gotta at least have a sort of like a better shape, like a closer shape of a head. So we usually start with something like this. And what I see a lot of students doing and a lot of folks doing, it's, doing some sort of like forms here, and they block like a nose. They know they have to have a muzzle structure here, a zygomatic. And they do like this, like proportion-wise is completely off. And then that's okay. Let's go with the move brush. And then with the move, they move without really thinking too much about what they're doing. Just moving fast, and they keep moving, looking at the references, moving. Eventually, I will be able to get this to accurate proportions after doing a lot of moving, right? And I want to make this clear. I'm not penalizing the use of the move brush. That is not the intention with what I'm saying here. The goal here, though, is to really be mindful of the forms and the shapes that we are building, and because that will help us realize the importance of very specific forms. Traditional sculpture definitely teaches all of that in a much direct way, because you can't really move stuff with this freedom, right? Like you gotta be a little bit more accurate from the beginning So that makes you think much more about your intentions. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna block out the shape here as we started with the other one, but I will stop and look at these forms here and pay attention to what I'm seeing. We're gonna go over, sculpting a skull in a different video, but I know like half of my skull is usually where my jawbone starts. So I know that I need a little bit more mass here. So again, I'm using the move brush just to make sure I'm not penalizing the use of the move brush. I'm a little bit more concerned with some of the structure here. So I want to make sure my structure is correct. Let's look at the shape of the head here, the back of the skull. This is missing a little bit of mass. Let's also just move this mass a little bit higher here. Let's look from the top, and I got that oval shape with kind of narrowing at the front. So this is good. Let's look at the frontal plane of the head here. So we do have a frontal plane. Let's just kind of make this a little bit more flatter. All right, and then we have the side planes here. So structure-wise, proportion-wise, this is a much better start already, right? So you can see that I'm moving very slow. The eye socket, the zygomatic, like all of those forms. Let's just pay attention. We need some space here to our eye cavities, right? That it's roughly here from the side. I need to make sure there is some sort of like this V shape here because it's tilting back. And this front part here, we know that we gotta have a little bit of a down play on some of these angles as well. And then eventually we can add a little bit more mass here. And I'm gonna use this move brush here to help me structure some of these forms. I wanna put this zygomatic structure here. Let's add a little bit of the muzzle form. And you can see that the skull is starting to take shape without a lot of moving stuff around. And obviously I'm working from memory here, but the idea is the same. We start carving some of these forms and really looking from different angles, paying attention, and really forcing your brain to see the whole, to see different angles, to search for things to look out for. And this is crucial because it really helps you with faster exercises, with more intuitive knowledge and development of understanding of form and shape. All right, so I'm not gonna sculpt a full skull here, but hopefully you get the idea. Let's just look at a different exercise that I did the other day. This is the exercise that I did the other day on the iPad studying J.C. Leyendecker, which is someone that I really enjoy, and he's very recognized by his simplification, shape design, very appealing characters. You can see here that I'm doing pretty much what I described you guys today with the very thoughtful approach to building and focusing on most important things in the beginning. I'm trying to stay very loose, but at the same time, very accurate. So I'm moving slow, I'm checking my references, I'm indicating certain marks to be able to compare with my reference. I'm trying to really capture what I see in the drawing, in the painting, and what really captivated me with the design, language he used, some of his shapes, some of the overlaps in things like the hair, for example. And you can see that I'm not going crazy with the move brush, as I mentioned previously, right? I'm trying to stay very accurate. Although this is a very quick exercise, roughly an hour, 2 hours, something like that, was being very deliberate with my choices and try to stay very close to the concept, or to my reference, I should say. You can see here that I'm just trying to have more indications built into the mesh so I can use that information to also help me convey what I'm seeing in the concept. And the more touch points I have built in my model, the easier it will get for me to compare and to analyze. You can see that I'm going from large to small, and although I'm spending quite some time here on the hair, I haven't really done the eyes or the lips or, the very nuanced fine details or the fine structures. I'm going with the big shapes, the big forms. And in this exercise specifically, because I'm really trying to focus on shape design, I'm really going after shape design and how I can actually design better shapes when I'm sculpting. This is a very known intuitive conceptual idea that it's much harder to explain in sculpting rather than in drawing, because drawing, the shapes are flat on the surface, and here the shapes are based on the angle that you see. But that being said, they are a huge part of how we recognize and how we perceive what we build. So again, I'm still going after all of these big forms, and I haven't done the eyes yet, haven't indicated some of the small wrinkles. And to me, they are not very important, especially because his eyes, I can see that as two big shapes, two big forms. And I will keep that and I will save those things for later. Moving slow, I took a lot of pauses during this exercise. I was working maybe like 20 minutes and stopping, working 20 minutes and stopping, because I was not trying to build this fast, I was trying to build this accurate. And although some of my brush strokes here are very loose, they are very thoughtful. I've been developing this idea of brush economy. That's something that it's very known in the painting world, very little talked about in the digital world or even in sculpting in general. And I believe that it's as important as in painting. Again, this is another topic that we're gonna go over in a different video. I think the more I paint, the more I'm able to cross different conceptual ideas and vocabulary into my modeling and sculpting education. And you can see here that I'm using the move brush very carefully, making small adjustments. This is structure-wise very close to the concept, so mission accomplished. I hope that helps. In summary, do very fast exercise and focus on dynamic lines and very bold strokes and, like very big explorations, move things around and stretch and compress and do all of that, right? But also make sure you are doing exercises that you are developing your precision and you're being careful and you are moving slow and you are paying attention to every brush stroke that you are doing and making sure each one of those brush strokes are actually necessary. Each one of those movements are necessary. Okay, so let me know in the comments what is your favorite approach to sculpting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with a friend, and see you on the next one. Cheers.